In Ecuador, the Confederation of Indigenous Nationalities declared a permanent mobilization and demand President Guillermo Lasso's resignation. In Palestine, civil and political organizations demand that the criminal court imposes preventive measures to stop assassinations by Israeli troops. And in Nigeria, electoral authorities extended general election schedule marked by reports of violence and insecurity in several polling stations. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Luis Alberto Matos from the teleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. Ecuador's Confederation of Indigenous Nationalities, CONAIE, declares itself in permanent mobilization in its territories and demands the resignation of President Guillermo Lasso. During the Confederation's National Convention held in Quito on Friday, its president Leonidas Issa Salazar, together with an enlarged council, called for the resignation of the Ecuadorian president due to the lack of legitimacy to govern and the breach of agreements. During the meeting, the organization also urged the National Assembly to promote an impeachment trial against Lasso for his alleged involvement in corruption cases. The organization also declared itself in permanent mobilization in each of its territories and announced that it will radicalize the struggle against mining and in defense of its historical demands. Salvadorian President Nayib Bukele announced on his Twitter account Friday that the first 2,000 gang members have been transferred to what has been described as the largest mega prison in the Americas. The mega prison, designed to hold up to 40,000 inmates and fitted with high-tech surveillance technology, was inaugurated by President Bukele himself in early February. The facility is located in rural valley on the outskirts of the town of Tecoluca, some 74 kilometers southeast of San Salvador. Hundreds of police officers, security agents from the direction of penitentiary centers, and soldiers reportedly participated in the transfer operation. The prison was built to hold some of the just over 64,000 gang members detained so far under an exceptional regime decreed by Congress at Bukele's request in response to an escalation of violence that claimed the lives of 87 people in March 2022. Peru's designated President Dina Boluarte orders the definite withdrawal of her country's ambassador to Mexico, Manuel Gerardo Talavera. During a national television appearance, Boluarte accused Mexican President Andrés Manuel López Obrador of violating the principles of non-interference in internal affairs and of defense and promotion of democracy. The accusation comes after the Mexican head of state reiterated his support to the Peruvian people and its former president Pedro Castillo, whom Congress dismissed last December and appointed then Vice President Dina Boluarte as new head of state. Boluarte's decision will reduce the relations between both nations to the level of charged affairs. The President of Mexico, Andrés Manuel López Obrador, met with the wife of former Peruvian President Pedro Castillo, with whom he expressed his solidarity. In his meeting with Lilia Paredes, the Mexican president announced that Pedro Castillo was harassed by the opposition since the beginning of his mandate and described his dismissal as unjust. AMLO also called the current head of the Peruvian executive, Dina Boluarte, a spurious president. In this way, López Obrador reiterated his support for Castillo while affirming that he will continue to demand his freedom. On the other hand, he informed that Castillo's children are continuing their studies in the Mexican country and assured that the government of Mexico is watching over their welfare. In Venezuela, following its work in Syria and Turkey, the Simón Bolívar Humanitarian Task Force was awarded the Francisco de Miranda Order, second class, on Friday. The president of Venezuela, Nicolás Maduro, reaffirmed the country's solidarity with the people affected by the earthquakes in Turkey and Syria from the Boyaca Hall of the Miraflores Palace. During the ceremony, the brigade, which is made up of 50 specialists, was honored, including earthquake technicians, rescue and first aid experts, firefighters, civil protection members, National Forensic Service personnel, and the K-9 Brigade.
As soon as we heard about the tragedy, about the 7.8 magnitude earthquake in the bordering region of Turkey and Syria. I immediately gave the order to activate everything we have, to activate the Humanitarian Operations Command with all its experience, all its historical background, and all its moral force to go immediately to help the people of Turkey and Syria in the first emergency response.
Venezuela is a country of solidarity that extends its hand to brother countries, said the Venezuelan president, referring to the work of the brigadiers in Turkey and Syria.
However, there it was, the tricolor, the yellow, the blue and the red of the flag of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela, waving in the spirit of peace, in the spirit of love, in the spirit of solidarity and cooperation. There was our flag. How proud you feel to be Venezuelan when you see the flag of Venezuela, shining through the good, shining for solidarity, because it is not a flag that will invade people, bomb and kill. It is a flag that is going to save lives, that is going to save peoples, that is going to help others. This is the flag of Venezuela, the flag of Miranda, the flag of the Army of Liberation. This is our flag. We are proud of our patriotic flag.
At the same ceremony, Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro thanked his Chilean counterpart Gabriel Boric for the attention he had regarding the firefighters of the Humanitarian Task Force Simón Bolívar who are helping to fight the fires in the country.
I would also like to thank the President of Chile, Gabriel Boric, for the attention he has given to the forest firefighters of the Simón Bolívar Humanitarian Task Force, who are currently in Chile, accompanying the Chilean people and applying their techniques to overcome this enormous forest fire that Chile has experienced, that Chile is experienced and which, fortunately, they are beginning to control.
Let's take a short break, but first remember you can follow us on TikTok at the account of teleSUR English, in which you'll be able to see news in different formats, news updates, and much more. All the stories coming up, stay with us. Welcome back from the South. Several Palestinian civil society organizations sent a letter to the International Criminal Court requesting to expedite the investigation into the increased killings of Palestinians by Israel. The letter, which was sent by the 35 Palestinian organizations to the ICC prosecutor Karim Khan, requests that he issue a precautionary statement regarding the escalation of widespread human rights violations by Israeli occupying forces against the Palestinian population. The joint letter also urges the prosecutor to take immediate steps to end the cycle of impunity and bring justice to the Palestinian victims of crimes against humanity committed by Tel Aviv. The European Union condemned on Friday the plans of construction of more than 7,000 Israeli settlements in the occupied West Bank. In this regard, the organization's spokesperson for Foreign Affairs and Security Policy, Nabila Masrali, reiterated the European bloc's position that Israeli settlements are illegal under international law, while renewing its call on Tel Aviv to revoke settlement plans on Palestinian land. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky affirms that the armed forces are getting ready to carry out alleged attacks against the Russian peninsula of Crimea. According to Zelensky's statements, Ukrainian troops are taking various military and logistical measures to carry out what they consider to be a displacement in that Russian region. In this context, the president affirmed that people are being sent for training not only in Ukraine but also in other countries. Meanwhile, Dmitry Medvedev, deputy chairman of the Russian Security Council, assured that in the event that Kiev attacks the Russian peninsula of Crimea or inside the country, the response will be prompt, firm, and resolute. Likewise, the President of the United States, Joe Biden, mentioned during an interview the possibility of Ukraine's military takeover of the Crimean Peninsula, as well as territories attached to Russia. In this connection, Biden said that Ukrainian forces should be established in a position to make advances during the spring and summer. In Turkey, authorities reported a 5.3 magnitude earthquake registered this Saturday in Niğde province in the center of the country. According to the Kandilili Seismographic Observatory, the epicenter of the quake was located in Bor municipality, about 10 kilometers southwest of Niğde city, capital of the province of the same name. According to local sources, the telluric movement was registered at 1:37 p.m. local time and could be felt in several regions near Niğde. At the moment, there is no information about possible material human damages. Niğde is located about 200 kilometers west of the areas devastated by the earthquakes of last February 6. Turkey's President Recep Tayyip Erdogan held telephone talks with his Russian counterpart Vladimir Putin and French Emmanuel Macron. According to a statement issued by the Presidential Communications Office, the Turkey leader expressed his gratitude to his Russian counterpart for the contribution sent to his country after the earthquake in February. Erdogan said during a conversation with the President of Ukraine that he expects the early revival of the Istanbul Agreement for the settlement of the armed conflict in Ukraine, asserting that the Turkey nation is ready to provide any kind of cooperation. Erdogan also held a video conference with the ruler of France, Emmanuel Macron, and thanked the nation for its contribution during the days following the double earthquake that struck the country. In the eastern part of Cuba, work continues to put out the wildfire that has been raging in the area for almost 7 days. Our collaborator Jordanis Rodrigo Lorenzo with the details.
The increase in wind speed in the last few hours, the spread of the flames and the presence of smoke have prevented actions to be carried out as planned, in addition to irregularity and complexity on the ground. Preliminary reports show damages of more than 900 hectares. The protection of the population, the current situation of the forces fighting the blaze in Pinar and the strategy adopted to put it out were the issues checked by Division General Ricardo Riguel Tejeda, Chief of the East Army. He was accompanied by Central Committee members of the First Secretary of the Party in Holguin, Ernesto Santiesteban Velázquez, and other armed forces and Ministry of Interior chiefs. The government officials conducted a precise assessment of the hottest, strongest, and most active places located so far in the areas known as Vegueta de Diego Pupo on the road to Pinarito. This is what's happening right now in Pinares de Mayarí. It is important to highlight the effort made by the forces in the area who are trying to stop the blaze. According to preliminary assessment, about 900 hectares have been damaged.
The fire continues raging in different places.
There is no real danger for the population. We have seen very young people indeed, even volunteer firefighters who are helping you here.
Yes, we have a very committed force, willing to work until the whole fire is extinguished.
You were telling me that this is one of the biggest fires. Why?
Because the last one did not burn so much. It burned, but not like this. This one has extended over the whole Pinares plateau.
What are you doing now, Rafael? Are you clearing trails?
Yes, trails against the fire, to prevent the fire from expanding.
The support from seaplanes and the use of amateur radio operators to keep communication in this complex territory allow operations to continue.
This allows us to make the most of the resources we have. It is a difficult task. As we know, mountains are complex in their geographic structure, and we are working in those conditions. But we are organized, and we have tried to direct our main efforts to those places representing the highest risks. We are going through a severe drought in the region, with high temperatures, and we are working in those conditions. But with the resources we are making a great effort, and people should know that. There is no one on the risk that has not been notified on time and taken to a safe place.
More than 450 armed forces troops will join the operation in the next hours, where the main fire outbreaks are concentrated.
El camarógrafo Eide La Pera y Jordanis Rodríguez Laurencio, teleSUR, Holguín, Cuba.
You can now watch teleSUR English in 33 different African countries through StarSat, dial 461, and enjoy our Latin American alternative broadcasts. We have more news coming up after a final short break, so don't go away. Welcome back from the south. Nigeria's electoral authorities extended voting hours in a general election marked by reports of violence and insecurity at several polling stations. The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, reported that given the low turnout in some voting centers, the polling stations will remain open. The state of Enugu in the south of the country was one of the most affected by the delays at the start of the polls. The electoral body detailed that the same measure will be taken in several regions, and with this it seeks to compensate the timetables. In its report, the electoral authority indicated that some 240 polling stations in the west of the country could not start the process due to insecurity, referring also that these communities are affected by violence. Meanwhile, electoral officials began to count votes at a polling station in Lagos, where people have gathered to count along and make sure the votes are properly registered. Nigerians stream out to vote in what many hope would be a fair election for a new leader who would deliver the country from widespread insecurity and economic troubles. After casting his vote, the candidate of the All Progressive Congress Party, Bola Tinubu, detailed that the main threat to be faced is the economic crisis that is spreading around the world.
That we have as a challenge, but we are not the only country affected with the economic crisis. It's spreading all over the world, and we just have to recalibrate the system and set Nigeria on the path of recovery.
Likewise, the candidate of the Labour Party of Nigeria, Peter Obi, stated that the country needs an urgent and immediate change to start a new stage as a nation.
Very important. It's an existential election. The country is going through a very difficult time and requires an urgent and immediate turnaround to commence.
On his part, the candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Atiku Abubakar, expressed his satisfaction with the improvement in the process and credibility of the elections every year in Nigeria.
Well, I mean, every environment has its own challenges, so I think we don't expect a uniform expectations all over the country. This is a more credible process, than previous ones, and I think it is good that we are improving with every election cycle.
In Burkina Faso, the Islamic State group claimed responsibility for an ambush and a military convoy in which dozens of people were killed, hostages, and wounded. According to a statement from the group's news agency, they reported that they attacked a military convoy trying to advance into areas under the control of the Islamic group near the department of Deu in the northeast of the country. They showed images of the lifeless bodies in military uniforms, as well as the assault rifles they seized and the soldiers taken hostage. There have been 2 incidents, and the real number of dead is unknown. The figure that the extremists have put at more 70, and this is the attack with the most victims since the new leader of the junta, Captain Ibrahim Traore, took power. We have come to the end of this news brief. From you can find these and many other stories on our website, telesurenglish.net, and also join us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For teleSUR English, I'm Luis Alberto Matos. Thank you for watching.